Welcome all and welcome back to the TECHNESS Corner. I am your host Seb Luca and welcome. It's 2022 and we are endeavoring to enter season number 2 of PC Master Race in the FB Marketplace ? So come on, let's go. Alrighty, so we've got the tranquil beats blazing in the background. Tranquility is today's forte on the agenda. I don't know how long this beat will last, so don't quote me on that. PC Master Race, FB Marketplace, Season 2, Episode 1 for 2022. Our first one we're doing this year. February has hit, it's almost March. Go figure, summer's on the cups of ending, even though summer sort of lingers in Melbourne a little bit longer, I've noticed over the years. The GPU market is supposedly about to stabilize a little. It doesn't mean prices will drop. They definitely won't go up any higher. The quench and the thirst for miners, supposedly miners who are causing this ruckus, still probably there, even though crypto has taken a massive tumbling in recent weeks. Although with the advert of the 3050s and the 6500s, we've got the luxury of some cards filtering through, which are, supposedly meant to be made available for the budget-orientated, conscious gamer, PC gamer. What budget is in PC gaming is nowadays is, I don't know, probably a little beyond me. But let's get into the marketplace and see what we got crack-a-lacking regarding any bargains that are to be sought and potentially bought. So let's go, people. Alrighty, so I've got my vape mod finally again. I don't have to smoke that wacky tobacco or that tobacco that's a bit wacky and makes you a bit crappy, frankly. So we've got a few things lined up. I've been scrolling through and having a short look about 2 minutes before we started regarding what we may have available for us today. So I haven't really listed them, so we're just going to semblance go through them and see what's cracking in the marketplace and what people have got for us today. Just now we found a Windows 10 PC with monitor, keyboard, mouse, speakers, etc. for $80. Interesting. So let's see, do we know the seller? Around the Bentley region, it's HJ Yun. Mr. Yun is selling the lot. Windows 10 desktop PC, 6 gigabytes of RAM, odd, which is really plenty. 80 gigabyte hard drive with Windows 10 installed, guys. So 80 gigabyte hard drive with Windows 10 installed, that takes up about 40 something gigabytes of that space. A little less after installation, but that's plenty, guys. HDD and DVD rewriter, mouse, keyboard, monitor, 2 power cables, monitor cable, earphones, Wi-Fi USB adapter, so Wi-Fi ready. You can use your smartphone as a hotspot. External speakers, Windows 10 Pro has been activated. The front side headphone port seems not working, but the back side one is working, tested. Great sounds with speakers. DVD drive is working, tested. The front card reader slots not tested. Silent for a desktop PC, good and fast enough for kids, enjoying YouTube, internet browsing, etc. Happy to swap for a DSLR or iPhone from McKinnon Bentley. Yikes. So he hasn't actually listed any real specs. We don't know what the motherboard is. 6 gigabytes of RAM is not enough. You need at least 8 gigabytes to run Windows 10 effectively nowadays. 4 gigabytes is the minimum, people. It's about 4.5. You can see currently that I'm utilizing 7.5 gigabyte of memory with Windows 10 Pro currently active, with a few meaningful tabs, some music, and some monitoring software and a wallpaper basically. So we ain't even pushing the system and we're already using 7.5 gigabytes of memory. I don't know, look, for $80, what more could you want? You've got everything there. Let's have a look through the pictures here. 51.3 gigabytes free of 73.9 gigabytes. It's got the keyboard backwards. That's always like well presented. He's got the table. He's got the wooden table. He doesn't want to scratch that, so he's got a cloth on there. As you can see, the cloth's a bit tatty. It's not as bad as some of my pictures, but it would have sold better with the wooden finish of that table, perhaps, I would think. YouTube in white, I haven't seen that for a bit, frankly. At the very least, this 150 megabits a second USB wireless adapter may be worth about $9. Yikes, look at those speakers. But look, you can't complain. He's setting someone up with the internet for $80. It's a good task. Hopefully there isn't any problems with the machine and it runs sweetly, and you can do some internet browsing if that's all you need. Get yourself a job and a better computer while you're at it, people. So let's move on to what else we've got next. So here we've got a computer, parts and case for $20. With 100 was 100, now he's asking 20. 20, still plenty. David Cruci, and he's from the same area around Bentley. So I am circumnavigating around my area in about a 10 to 15 kilometer radius, so it's completely realistic per se, and as a result I can inevitably buy some of these items myself if I am lucky enough to get them, if they're worthwhile purchasing. That's why you're going to see a cluster of similar areas today, and as a result that's the district that we are roaming through this 90. So computer case and parts, no hard drive included, everything else inside the case, good for parts, processor board, power supply, etc. For parts, hasn't listed what they are. Pick up Moorabbin, more than 20 available. Selling as parts, do not ask specific type, speed, etc. It's $100 each, sold as is, no specifics. No way. I mean, if you didn't do an upside down photo, you could get the parts there and stuff and work it out, but I'm not extremely hopeful. But I'll tell you right now, has it got RAM in it? Does that look like no RAM to you, or does that look like RAM? It looks like there might be some RAM there. RAM, everything else inside the case, good for parts, processor board, power supply, etc. Yeah, look, for $20, yeah, I guess so. For parts, if you need a power supply to power subby on the side or something, you know, everything else is sort of cannon fodder. Frankly, if you could rebuild in that case with something a bit more prestigious for this day and age, it may be worth it. But you may have something that might be able to run the internet better than that $80 machine. You just have to tricks it out with another $60 worth of goods, frankly. Let's move on. Intel i5 desktop computer PC set up with monitor, keyboard and mouse, $400. What has he got for sale, this young man, Rick Chan? Let's suss him out, but he's a pioneer. He joined Facebook back when we were really young and borderline thinking absurdly unclear back in 2007, people. So got this PC that, because young and dumb, you know what I mean, but got this PC that'll be great for the young kids to play their basic games on, learn how a PC works, first computer studies, etc, etc. Please understand this PC won't play the latest AAA titles. Double check the specs to see if this is right for you. So considering that he's selling it for 400, he's being quite honest already, so that's good, because other people selling computers for 400s will tell you that playing the AAA titles, and I'll give you frame rates and whatnot, and it's a little bit shonky, frankly. So specs for the complete PC are Intel i5 2500K, they'll get you browsing the net. HP H61 motherboard, looks clean at least too as well. G-Skill Air's 8GB DDR3 RAM. He could have put 16GB, frankly. He could have decked it out in 4, 8, 12, 16, if you know what I mean. I believe it's only got, I believe he didn't do an inside shot, I believe it's only got 2 DIMM modules, unfortunately, so that's gonna complicate things. So he's got 2 4GB slots in there. So we've got an MSI GTX 560 Ti 1GB graphics card. New film will take black case with side window. So look, that for 400, that has to be 2GB minimum. I would have liked to have seen the full modularization of RAM available that you can put in. 8GB just cover us. Thank God it's a K, but you know, a basic person won't know about that until they fully tinker with it. And new rhodium blue LED intake fans ×3. They are the cheapest fans you can buy. They are approximately $4 each, guys, and I do lie to you not. It's show and tell time, people. So we got ourselves 2 rhodium reds. These are the Molex driven ones. You could get the PWM ones as well, which are 3 3 skin. They do the job for a fan, but they push no air. $4 to $6 each, $7 tops, okay, if you know where to buy them. And they put out a nice effect of whatever color they are, frankly, and you can get an RGB one variant, which costs about 50 cents to $1 more than these ones, the plain colored ones do. As opposed to going, say, one step further and one level up, and you got yourselves some Cycleflow 120 Gigabyte Cooler Master fans, which are RGB spastic. I've currently got them blaring in the rig over there, and they replaced the rhodium ones for myself personally. These ones will push about 62 or 64 CFN worth of air. They're not static fans which go on your radiators. They're ones which are like case flow fans, and they do the job really well. They're approximately $15 each, and that's when they weren't on special. So if they were on special, perhaps you could get them for 12 or so. And these do a really good job. They're PWM 4-pin fans, and they've got RGB connectors with a off lead to chain them. And yeah, this is the next step up. This is something that will actually blow a lot of air, but understand that if he's got enough fans in there and he's got good case pressure, then it'll do its job, and gravity will do its job, and the air will dissipate. And as long as that GPU doesn't release too much heat, and we'll have a closer look in a second, as well as a few other bits and pieces like the CPU just flaring, and say the hard drive being canked at 100% or something. If it's faulty in some way, then it shouldn't, but understand that heat will contribute to the degradation of your hardware, as well as moisture, as well as such as humidity and vapor, of course, and also dust. So it's something to be wary of. A little bit extra for your cooling requirements you'll be thankful for later on down the track when you develop some form of problems, because a little bit of dust will clog up and heat will build up, and then suddenly you'll have problems and you won't know where they're coming from unless you're actually tinkering with your system and maintaining it. If it's cheap and you can't afford anything else, you still have to maintain that system in some way, shape or form, otherwise you'll lose it as well. You know, you abuse it, you lose it. So let's have a closer look over here at what's going on under the hood. So he's got an MS GTX 561 gigabyte graphics card. I don't know about that. Look, at least it looks ratty, but it doesn't look tatty. Okay, so with a spruce up, this keyboard and mouse will do the trick. ViewSonic monitor, nothing special. If it's 1920 by 1080, that'd be nice. Samsung 850 Evo 120 gigabyte SSD for fast booting Windows. That's nice. Seagate 1 terabyte HDD for storage. Windows 10 Pro installed and activated. ViewSonic 22-inch cable. Thermaltake gaming RGB keyboard and mouse. Pick up Noble Park. Look, I'd probably say 25, 40, 40, 40, 40, 80, 80, 10, 12, 80, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 112 for the fans. The case, the black case with the side window, 112, 152, 162, 72, 82, 92, 92, 192, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 300. Ask 350 and you should be sweet. Realistically, if everything works, then you're schmitten. But you know, if you want to build something yourself, you're not spending more than 280 for something like this, I probably think, in total, everything. So he's making himself about 120, and that's a considerable markup. If he provides a service of care after the fact, then perhaps some sort of guarantee or some sort, then perhaps it's worthwhile. But you have to understand that is a general build cost, but it can be a build cost associated with a $1,500 machine. Unfortunately, a $200 machine might cost you $320 because it takes just the same amount of work almost. He never gave us a picture of the inner makings of this machine, so we don't get to see how clean it is per se. Anyway, let's move on to the next piece of article. So here we got ourselves a Gigabyte GTX 650 NVIDIA 1GB GDDR5 graphics card, HDMI, $100. No way, guys. I say because of the condition of it. It looks pretty clean. It's got a HDMI port output. I'd probably say about 60, no more, 50. Like on the other hand, guys, I say this lightly, it's the market's crazy still, but I've got a almost new GTX 650 Ti boost over here, which is 2 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory. And I'm not going to say how much I purchased this for, but I've got it up for sale for 125, because that's sort of the going rate. It's about 100 to 150-ish for 2 gigabyte GTX, something thereabouts. This is just recently lost, on a side note, lost as well as that one has lost support. The latest drivers will be fine with the games currently, okay, that it can play, but realistically speaking, unfortunately, as the games change and evolve, we'll maybe get some kinks in it. It'd still play your esports titles really well, but for this price, I would go for something in the 2 gigabyte range minimum. Okay, so let's move on. So on a side note, we've got a GPU here, MSI GeForce GT 1030, a little bit newer, 2 gigabyte OC. You have to be a bit knowledgeable. Solid entry level GPU up for grabs. That's in my neck of the woods, because I'm actually selling that. Some dirty fingernails I got there, frankly. Trust me, my fingernails are really clean at the moment. Okay, must have been in the garden or something. This is a lot newer, and it will handle a lot more than that 1 gigabyte will. Again, for $125, I expect 100 or so. I listed it a little higher. I'll drop it, but yeah, again, I won't say how much I picked that up for. These two GPUs were meant to go in a flip machine, which I could sell for $300 to $400. So something that will be similar to what that gentleman was selling just before, but with just a little bit stronger specifications that will just enable you to do some things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do with that sort of machine. Okay, and obviously also highly optimized as well, with some support just in case they decide to mess up the BIOS settings. I'll come and reset them for them or something like that, if you get my drift. So on the other hand, moving up in the tiers, we've got a GTX 970 4 gigabytes graphics cards, 250, and this is what I'm referring to. So 125 for 2 gigabytes, 250 for 4 gigabytes. You double it up, and there you are. Suddenly you're in a 250 range. I wouldn't want to spend more than 200 for this card. 180, 160 if you can. These are higher than what they were before, guys, so it's something to consider. Because as we move on, we got a Gigabyte WindForce graphics card over here, 80 buckaroonies. He was asking 100. He hasn't specified what it is exactly. It looks like it could be a 2 gigabyte module if he's referencing it accurately, but it's an R9 2 gigabytes, so that's something to look at. Get him to 60 or 50. To be honest, I didn't spend more than 50 on that, and that was in the box, completely brand new. A fellow I know that does me some deals at times, as long as I thank him very nicely. He's a very kind fellow. He knows that generally I won't sell off certain items at the value which I bought them, and just make my build cost or something there, and not ask for much, not be too greedy, and give it to a good home. So for the time being, I've got them listed a little bit higher now because I haven't built the machines, and if I don't come across those parts I need in the time that they sell, then they will filter through, and I will reacquire and do something like that, and have more for a better computer still, if possible, and upgrade in that regards. Yeah, if we move on in the list, so here we got something that caught my eye for $100, i7 3770K, okay, and it looks like it's got the motherboard and the cooler. It's a 1155 socketed motherboard. These are very hard to come by. Z77 motherboard, people. professional fatality gaming gear. Okay, I believe it's ASRock. It's got the digi display, which is really cool. Unfortunately, works fine, never overclock. i7 3070-70K, which will include the motherboard, which I believe is faulty. I think it's short-circuited from one of the RAM slots. Man, this guy in, again, the Braeside, Cheltenham area, Fatih Karatzi. Now, so that means that the motherboard's cactus, people. It means nothing. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, okay? You need to be a pro to get that working again. Who knows what's shorted out or faulted out. It says it's done it while he was cleaning. Is the alcohol dry enough while doing the routine clean? So it just pops something. It's really weird, frankly. He's actually got some RAM that he's selling as well, but the i7 3770K for $100. Get rid of the motherboard, but the problem is the motherboard's the piece de resistance. These motherboards are hard to come by. These are the ones that you want to get to sell these 3rd generation, 4th generation CPUs and whatnot. And unfortunately, it's cactus. He's actually got some DDR4, DDR3, 32 gigabytes of RAM available. A kit of 4 8s at 2400 megahertz. He's asking 200. I think I will be picking that up from him for about 150, no more. And I already picked up, actually, on a side note, some RAM from this gentleman, $20, some DDR3, just some low-grade green PCB stuff, and it seems to be working fine. So he seems honest enough, and he's putting it out there. You can get someone who would enjoy the capacitors and things like that. Imagine if you could get it working again. If I asked him whether it was running per se, something what you should ask the gentleman. Did you see any lights when you turned it on? He doesn't remember. It's a little bit shady. It means it doesn't work, you know. So yeah, and then coming back to it on a side note, you got an MSI. So this is something for your 8th or 9th gen processors. You got an MSI B60 Gaming Pro carbon motherboard, and for $150, I wouldn't take it from Mr. Seb Luca over here. Sebastian Lucas there, you can see him there. That's myself. I wouldn't take it from myself for more than, say, 120, 125. But with that said, this is what I paid for it. I paid this exorbitant amount, $300 for this and an i5 8500 CPU. $300. I shouldn't have paid more than $220, $200, I reckon, for something like that. But yeah, this was in the old rig there, but I was having problems with it. The motherboard works fine, okay? It's just got its quirks when you're trying to run 4 powerhouse GPUs through it, if you get my drift. So I upgraded to a Z370, and I paid $150 for that Z370, which I've got over there now, and that's an Asus Tough motherboard, Mobo. It's running without a hitch now, so that's a good thing. And yeah, unfortunately, I've got an issue with one of the GPUs. I might have to take them back on warranty because the RGB isn't working as effectively as it should. Half the side of the GPU isn't, the RGB stopped working, so I need to work out what's going on there. But PC case key is going to be an arse and a half, hopefully not, cross my fingers, to deal with warranty, because they haven't got face-to-face contact anymore. It's really fucking shonky and annoying, frankly, but they were the best price at the time. So moving on, let's see if we can find some other stuff. So here looks like something interesting. Now, to be brutally honest, I don't know about this already straight off the bat. An EVGA RTX 2060, $700, like new condition. I don't know about that, people, frankly, because for $749 you can still pick these up new with warranty intact. For $600 and about $20, I saw a 3050 Ti in stock in the locals. Remember, in the local area, the shops in my local area in 10-kilometer radius, these guys in 10-kilometer radius, no fucking way. We're gonna have to talk him down about 600, 575, 550 would be the going rate for these nowadays. So moving on, here we got ourselves something interesting. A Z87C motherboard, 4070-70K, 16 gigabytes of RAM, complete package. If it works, schmitten. If it's at 250, done. It will run Windows 10 Pro for the next few years before support is diminished and lost. And I'll tell you what, you can put your newest graphics card in there, frankly, and take that over to your next PC while you're saving up for that PC, recoup your costs, and you've got something pretty decent that'll play games really well, even in this day and age, frankly. Zoop it up a little bit. Valhalla just opened by itself. Okay, so like I was saying, this, before we were rudely interrupted by Valhalla's 80 gigabyte update. I don't know what was going on. I had to reinstall the game or something. It'll do really well. Now, on the other hand, this would go well suited with that for this day and age, not for $100, unfortunately, and not because it's not working. For $100, it's a part. It's a brick for $100. You want to buy a brick for $100, people? It must be a nice gold-plated brick. Moving on now. So $80 for parts. Hasn't got, I believe, the CPU. It hasn't got the SDD or the SSD in this case, and the RAM. So it suits a do-it-yourself project, or if you have parts for refurb. And he bought this for $80. The carcass is not worth $80. Okay, so moving on. On the other hand, we've got something a little bit nicer here. Our 1080 Founders Edition, not going for $800, going for $600. I wish I could get it for $550 or $500. I would definitely consider it, but the price is firm. Okay, beautiful card, will go well in anyone's collection. Still get a lot of life out of that for the time being, and coupled with that $300 monstrosity of parts, or say $250, you'd be paying $850. I'd have to ask $1,000, wouldn't I? I feel guilty asking that much for something so old, but you know, that's the going rate, guys. And that brings us to a dilemma I have. I'm getting that DDR3 2400 megahertz. This is a little bit lower. I believe it's 1600 megahertz, if I can see that clearly, or 1800 megahertz. $50 for 32 gigabyte DIMMs each, either that or the 16 gigabytes, but $50 a piece, 32 gigabytes, or 64 gigabytes for $100. It's interesting because it makes me reflect on the purchase that I'm about to get. I'm spending $150. Maybe I should only spend about $120 if this is still up in that day and age, when it comes time to purchase this item, because the guy's got it on hold for me. I might have to try to barter him down just that little bit less, because frankly, this is a really good deal if it's legit. Yeah, that's been a little bit of a stomp in our PC Master Race FB Marketplace Season 2 Episode 1, just a warm up to 2022. It is February now, but we will be pressing on, and as the bargains start flying, we've got a little bit of time to make some good computers still that can utilize Windows 10. Otherwise, you do have to move up in a realm and get those 8th and 9th gen processors minimum, computers that will cost at least $1,000 to $1,500 realistically, because you wouldn't want to couple it with a mediocre GPU unless you make it completely obvious. But then again, you're still going to be in about the $600 to $900 price range with a crappy GPU, and you have to emphasize that, you know, if you're honest, so that they know what they're purchasing, because that 4th gen 4770K with that crappy GPU will run that as well as the 8th or 9th gen with the crappy GPU, frankly. So, you know, but how much? That's why I can't charge $600 to $900 for that. And you can see, adding up those costs and trying to make a sweet bill for someone, it gets there, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's my dilemma at the moment, guys. Thank you for joining me for the opening of Season 2 of PC Master Race FB Marketplace. My name is Seb Luca, and guys, good evening, good night, and or good morning wherever you are in the world today. That's been another stomp in the PC Master Race FB Marketplace Season 2 Episode 1, people. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope to see you again. Peace out, yo. Ma.